In this video, we'll be checking out Spiff by oek-style, a transient processor with a difference, allowing extremely detailed and flexible control over the transient content in your material. It will analyse the incoming signal and only apply the processing to the relevant parts of the audio, meaning we can either cut or boost the transients at a certain frequency range, leaving the rest of the audio unaffected. We'll be exploring how we can use it on a variety of different source sounds and looking at the ease and speed in which we can dial up very effective settings. So let's begin by using a couple of instances of Spiff to change the feel of this kick drum sound. Spiff operates in either one of two modes, to cut or boost the transients. So I'm going to start with an instance here and I'm going to get rid of some of this click on the kick drum. Loading it up in its default setting and simply turning it on. It's not that click out of the kick drum quite nicely. We could change the frequency band to direct the processing to a different frequency range, but the default setting of around 7K seems to do the trick quite nicely. Now I'm going to use another instance of Spiff, this time in boost mode, to add a bit more body to this kick drum sound. I'm going to get rid of that frequency band and push up some of the transients in the higher mids. I can change the Q to narrow down the frequency range that we're affecting, or boost the sensitivity to add more processing. And let's roll down this low cut and boost up some of the sensitivity for the lower mids as well, to add a bit more warmth to this kick. Now let's bypass and unbypass both instances of Spiff and see how we've changed the feel of this kick drum sound. Let's have a listen to some of the other sounds that we've got in this drum loop. These hi-hats and tops here. We could use Spiff to increase the top end in this a little bit more and give the tops a little bit more presence. Again, I'm going to activate the boost mode and direct the processing to the air band around 15-16K. We can boost the sensitivity. Higher settings will mean more transients are detected. And the sharpness control will control the sharpness of the boosts or cuts, so lower settings will generally yield more natural sounding results. We can also use the trim controllers. I notice we're adding a few dB to the level of this audio now. It's quite an effective way of just dialing a little bit of sweetness in the top end. Now let's also take a look at this vocal file. Because Spiff has a very useful preset that we can dial up for vocals.
I'm living in a bubble, even in the heavens. I don't trust no.
We dial into the presets here and select the remove mouth clicks preset.
I'm living in a bubble, even in the heavens. I don't trust no.
Although bypassing and unbypassing the plugin, it's difficult to hear the difference. If we use the delta button, this will solo the frequencies that are being cut from the audio. And you can hear it's getting rid of some of those mouth clicks and pops. Let's now take a look at how we can use Spiff to process the drum bus we have in this project. I'm going to dial up one of the presets here, take the bypass off, and dive into the drums category and take a look at this add punch to drum bus preset. Let's have a listen to what it's done to this drum group. It's really transformed the sound, made it a lot more punchy and tighter. I'm going to tweak some of the settings here. I think it's a little bit too boxy now with this quite a wide cue on the lower mids and low frequencies, so I'm going to narrow this down a little bit. I'm going to direct some of the processing to boost some more of the top transient material in the drum group. Swinting up the top end and the higher mids. Let's bypass and unbypass again. Tweak the trim so we're not adding too much level to the signal, and then we can effectively A/B. Now let's try some more extreme settings. As you notice the mix control here, we can use this to apply the plugin, or use the plugin to effectively parallel process these drums. As with a mix of 100%, I'm now going to take the depth all the way up for some quite extreme processing. And of course we're going into the red now, but now let's use the trim control alongside the mix control to apply this processing in parallel. So we're dialing the dry signal back into the group, mixing that along with the process signal, and using the trim control so we're not adding too much gain to the signal. Now let's bypass and unbypass again. It's quite a transformation of those drums, keeping the sounds intact but adding a lot more punch. Now let's take a look at this synth stab. Spiff can actually process an audio signal in both left and right stereo mode as well as mid-side modes. So let's take a look at the mid-side mode now. Go to the boost and bypass, and let's direct the processing to the upper mids. Increase the depth, and this balance control here, let's take this all the way up so we're only processing the side signal, adding transient detail, increased transients to the side signal in this synth sound. Boost up the decay. As you can see, we can also use Spiff to process the mid or side content in our audio, effectively widening this synth sound. Be sure to check out Spiff by Oek-style, which is available now at ADSRsounds.com.